G'day everyone, welcome back to production run number 7. And in this video, I'm going to go through the lessons learnt, what I didn't like, what worked, what didn't work in the 100 bowls so far of the 700 bowl order. And in doing that, I'm going to show you around the workshop, my workplace setup, or this work setup that I've got here. First thing I want to go through is I completed the first 100 about a week and a bit ago now. By the time this video comes out, it's probably about 2.5, 3 weeks. But in the first, I must have been a good boy. The mother-in-law just gave me a coffee. Cheers, Ma. Where was I? In processing the 100 bowls, I knew that I had till November to do it. So I am just doing them in lots of 100 and I'm pacing myself through it. I'm not trying to just flog a dead horse and get them done, all of them, as soon as possible. I'm pacing myself through the process and producing really good quality little bowls so I don't burn out and I don't get sick of it. So in between doing this, I'm doing other little custom little orders, filming these videos, and as well as doing other little bits and bobs that I get up to. So it hasn't been all about doing the 100 bowls at a time or the 700 bowl order. It's been doing a lot of other things, and that has helped with my mental state as well, because as you can imagine, by the time I get up to the 700 bowl, I will probably be in a straitjacket. But I'm going to avoid that at all costs and trying to just pace myself through this. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the blanks. And when I got the thumbs up, I went and cut 200 blanks ready to go and then stacked them all on my removal little trolley system that I've got there. And I just cut them into square, just rough blocks like this, 50 mil deep by 100 mil wide, if not a little bit bigger. And that sped the process up quite quickly, because I can just simply put that on the wood screw with the drill right here, bang, and I usually drill about 3 or 4 at a time. So then I'm only picking the drill up less. So the less time I have to reach and pick something up, it saves me time in the long run. And it's all these little things. What did I say last week in the last week's video? Micro movements or micro improvements lead to macro results, something like that. And yes, anyway, and the reason why I only cut up 200 or so at a time is because I was accounting for waste, which I had a lot of waste. And I also knew that if I cut more than 200, or if I cut, say, 300 blanks or something like that, they will end up splitting, or they'll end up cracking or something like that. Moving around in the shed, and hopefully this camera can pick this up, I work in a triangle. I've got my sharpening station. I've got one there, which is the CBN wheeled setup on the slow speed grinder, which I've made a full video about that whole setup there. I've then got my Waterstone grinder by Tormek, which is a really old version. And then I've got my Robert Sorby Pro Edge over here. And I know what you're thinking, Jesus, there's a lot of money right there, but I bought all these secondhand and my father-in-law and I purchased that one. So I didn't go out and purchase it all at once. And I got them off older wood turners, which I say all the time to reach out to older wood turners or keep an eye on Facebook Marketplace for this stuff. So the slow speed grinder is for sharpening the 55-degree bevel bowl gouges, which I'll talk about the gouges and the sanding setup. So I quickly go over and sharpen on the CBN wheel right side on the woodcut true grind setup. When I want to sharpen the 45-degree bevel, I go to the Tormek setup on the whetstone there, and then I've got the leather strop wheels on the left for doing that. When I want to sharpen my skews for doing the tenons, I come over to the Robert Sorby Pro Edge, the belt system, which you've probably all seen before. When it comes to gouges, now take that one away. Thank you, mother-in-law. So when it comes to gouges, the reason why I've got those 3 sharpening setups is because I've just been able to acquire them. I'm very fortunate, but it speeds everything up so much quicker. So the whetstone goes on these, and I've got 2 16mm gouges there by Woodcut Tools, both with 45-degree bevels. They've all got 45-degree bevels on them with the heel, a lot of that heel removed. And that allows me to get really tight down into the little bowls to get towards the base and then finish them off. So then I've got the 2 19mm bowl gouges, both by Woodcut Tools in New Zealand, and they both have 55-degree bevels on them. And the reason why I've got 2 of those, 3 of these, 2 of these, all ready to go is because these are for bulking out. I remove all the material with these. Inside, outside, shape it up, push the tenon down, ready to go. These are for finishing cuts only. So I finish the piece off with these. That's what they're for. I've got 2 skews here, and they are both for making tenons. One when one gets dull, and the other one nice and sharp. So that's the reason why I've got that set up just there. I've got these 2 dividers here. This one is to keep the even consistency of 45 mil, which is the depth of the bowl. So I measure that on the side when the lathe's running, and that is to measure the tenon on the back, and then that fits perfectly into the jaws. Sanding. Now, you're probably noticing that I've got 3 drills here. This one here is of 180 grit, and they're the hook and loop system, and I'll explain all this in a sec. 240 grit, and this one here was the 120 grit, but I didn't mark it with the tape. I just wrote it on the little thing. And these little mandrel heads have all seen better days. And thank you very much, Neil from U-Butte Polishers, for sending me up a couple in a couple of days. So I can't wait till they get here. In this drawer here, I've got my 3-inch sanding discs, just in case I want to swap the mandrel heads over. And in this case here, I've got all my sandpaper that I need for the little 2-inch discs in there. So you're standing at the lathe, ready to go. You've just made your finished cut, your final little trim cut on a bowl on the inside or the outside, and you want to get started sanding. The reason why I've got the drills is I can quickly rip that timber down, starting at 180 grit. If I'm reaching for the 80 grit or something like that, I know I need to go sharpen. So I usually start around that 180 grit. If it's not too bad, but it needs a good cleanup, I use the 120 grit. I can either have an option of hand sanding, and then I've got these rotary sanders just over here. And these are for the outside of the bowls. 120 grit, 180, and then 240. And as you can probably imagine already, everything is in with arm reach. I'm not having to walk too far. It's 2 steps to the sharpening station, reach across, grab another tool, or go over to the whetstone and then sharpen up over there. Everything is really nice and close and tight, so I don't have to go walking too far. Now, when it comes to the lathe, my father-in-law built this big base. He was a metal guy, and later on in his life, he went to timber. This is a massive big platform that allows me to put all the stuff that I need right there ready to go. And this box here is damn it. This box here is simply holding up the bits and bobs that I need when I'm sanding. I've also got the 2 finishes here, and I've been using friction polish. I've made videos on those as well, but super simple, quick, easy, ready to go. So I guess you're thinking, Kezza, what didn't work in the 100 bowl start? What I did at the start, I turned all the backs off, thinking I would turn all the backs, sand them, and then put them on the rack, and then put them back on the lathe, and then do all the inside, and then sand them. And I got to about the 50 or 60 bowl mark, and I thought, this is ridiculous. I'm double handling the hell out of this. I've got to figure out a quicker way. So from there on, I just finished them off. I would put the wood screw in, ready to go, mount the blank on, turn the back, sand the back off, put a finish on it, take it off the wood screw, flip it around and put it on the inside, turn the inside, sand it, finish it, done. And then it's done. I don't have to go back and touch that bowl ever again. It's finished. I can put it up on the shelf and then start on the next blank. But I would just put them there when they're finished and then, you know, keep going. It just made life a hell of a lot easier, and I wasn't double handling the product. I could just quickly get it done, put it down, and then forget about that one and start on the next one. So I found that worked a lot better for me. The only reason why I'd started turning all the backs and then finish it is because that's what I usually do when I'm doing the larger pieces. Simply because I've got the Glenn Lucas remounting plate there, I've got the tail stock on, you know, I've got everything set up ready to go to turn the backs. And then I go and do it in a 3-stage process. I would turn all the backs off, form the tenon, put that one down, grab the next one, and do a lot of 10 or 20 bowls, and then take all that off and then set up for the inside. Then I would set up for sanding. Can you see how that works? Because the bowls are so much bigger, there's a lot more work that's involved. With the smaller ones, you're just here. You don't have to, I hope that makes sense. They're just easier and quicker to do, and there's not a lot less sort of moving parts. You just take the wood screw out, turn it around and put it in. I don't need the tailstock or anything like that in my way. And when I'm sanding, I've got the dust extractor right there. So I just pull it over, turn it on, and I'm good to go. Also, I found in the first lot of those bowls is that I was marking the tenon a little bit, and I'm not used to turning such small little feet, little tenons. I came up with this little idea of making my own little vacuum chuck. You all know I've got this one here by Vicmark Tools, but that's obviously massive. It'll just swallow the little bowls. So all I did was use the really small face plate, as you can see there, and then got a heap of epoxied that rubber buffer on, and then turned it so the foot sits perfectly in that little hole. So when I mount it on the spindle, it's a perfect little vacuum chuck, and it doesn't leave any marks whatsoever on the inside of the bowl, and works an absolute treat. So the next thing that didn't work was the finish. And I'm not talking about they didn't work, but I wanted to mention, I started using a homemade blend of Danish oil, which I found using oils in the past absolutely perfect. Beautiful coverage when you're working with a lot bigger pieces, but that didn't work because I'd have to go back and then apply 3 coats of oil to everything of 700 bowls, and I didn't quite fancy that idea. And in my thinking of getting things done quickly getting things done once, putting it away and not having to touch it again, I thought I'd go to the Osmo Poly-X gloss, but then I'd have to put 2 coats on. So that didn't work. So I went to the friction polish, and the first one that I went with was the Aussie oil, and that worked an absolute dream. Apologies. The door just slammed. So I went with the Aussie oil first, and that was working an absolute treat. Not the Danish oil didn't work. Went with the Aussie oil, that worked an absolute dream. But then I wanted to get quicker, so then I put, I'm using EEE, which is a fine abrasive and cuts it down really nicely and brings up a beautiful little shine, but it's not a finish. And then I put the Shellac cream on it. And then that made me able to just finish it there, and then on the lathe, put it away, and then it's done. If you want to learn more about Shellac cream and finishes like that, friction polishes, this video here I'll show you how to use it, and because it is a little bit tricky to use. That video there is all about sanding, if you want a hand with your sanding. But I appreciate you all for watching this video. Cheers guys, I will talk to you all directly. Bye.